and power, but the Seraphine still open, the Hecarim still open, the Fresh still open, and all of these are picks that honestly both of these two teams can use to great efficiency. So I'm really curious to see what the final benefit T1 is going to be here, because it's starting to feel like they're banning specific picks that kind of alleviate.
Oh, it's
okay.
This is genius from T1. They get rid of the Renekton, and now if Hanwha Life Esports take away the Thresh that I think a lot of people would expect, or the Hecarim, this means Seraphine and the Thresh go over to T1.
Oh yeah, go Fresh. Please go Fresh, Seraphine. Like, that is...
That's the trifecta of God champions on this patch, right?
And I think the Hecarim might provide you with somewhat of an issue. I'm curious to see what T1 is going to pick into it here. We've seen time and time again that the Hecarim is an insanely strong pick, right? It farms well, it ganks well, it teamfights well, it basically does everything, which is why it's so high priority, while still having a level of tankiness that's pretty crazy. Yep, there we go. Yeah.
All right. Thankfully, we do find the Seraphine button. This this champion is ludicrous. Looking forward to seeing where they're going to be putting it. Still, theoretically, could be bottom lane, but very likely that Faker is going to be playing that one already. Has I believe he debuted, or re-debuted, I guess, when he made it back onto the roster with that one, as Senna is available as well.
Someone has stayed up to watch G2 last night, talking about the Seraphine bot lane.
Yes, well, I mean, I was thinking the Seraphine should be going into the support role. However, I was watching that series as well, as Senna is going to be locked away, and now Chovy, his Orianna will be locked in. Oh, it's feeling like an 11.6 vibe here, as there's the Gragas as well, as we're getting towards Exodia.
Yes. Oh, the amount of power picks on both teams are actually insane, and I think in terms of raw power, I like the T1 draft more so far. But I think that the Hanwha Live already has a comp that's ludicrous to play into, right? Because look at what is going to be thrown your way. You have the hard engage from a Hecarim and a Renekton, or and a Gragas rather, augmented by the threat of a shockwave, a body slam shockwave, a devastating charge into a shockwave. Like, all of these things, Onslaught of Shadows, are so terrifying. I'm happy to go for this, can then ban away things like the Thresh.
Thresh needs to go.
Maybe even the Blitzcrank, right? Like, where these kind of hook champions that can really provide a lot of additional threat. This does, however, create a situation in which you're fairly certain where everything is going to go. No jungler yet, so maybe they're going to try and pinch Kaz out of some of the more viable high-level meta junglers that are still available. Don't even have to ban away the Lilia, fortunately for you, because you have the Hecarim.
Yep.
And the Fresh ban, I mean, we talked about it, right? It's very self-explanatory. Wondering if we're also going to see like another hook champion, or if they're going to go a different route. You can go for maybe some mitigation of the Jinx, which I think without the Fresh is not as strong, but it's a possibility. Okay.
Yeah, one of the deft favorites there in the Varus. Does like to be able to sit back and work on that one. And actually, I don't mind it in this composition, despite the fact that T1 do have a lot of sustain. Lethality Varus can build the good old Destructor of Shield item, the Serpent's Fang, that I think might be disabled in the LCK, but I'm not entirely sure because we just never see it. As have we gone to 11.6 early? As that's a Volibear.
I actually, you know, maybe just get it in, see if how it works out for you, how you like the feel of it, because of course top lane Volibear, not buffed. It's legit, it's just the flex potential.
Oh, yes.
Okay, oh my god.
Where Ezreal Yumiing, boys.
Listen, and this is gorgeous because this is the attempt at punishing in a different direction, right? As opposed to going for, okay, we're going to try and like get a hook champion and try and kill you regardless. You know what carry I can do. The Ezreal Yumi goes completely in the opposite direction, where like you're not going to have any threat on us whatsoever. We're just going to freely scale and Hecarim with Yumi, Orianna. Like, this comp from Hanwha Life is disgusting, but so is the T1 comp, right?
Yeah,
and
we've that's going to be the Aatrox, right? And he already has a lot of healing, right? I think like there's not going to be enough Grievous Wounds available from Boris at the shop in order to stop him from just being immortal in these fights. Think about it. You've got Senna and Seraphine. No, it's revolting. And then if he gets into a lot of trouble, Carry just gobbles him up.
Oh, these team fights late game are going to be actually disgusting from both sides, because I think the T1 comp, if you are able to get any of these carries ahead, you're in for a good call. And if you get really late game, Teddy is able to just farm up the souls freely and then basically chew for everyone on the side of Hanwha Life, you'll be fine. The mid-game power spike though for Hanwha Life, when they hit the 1-2 items and they start death balling up, I think actually outfights T1, which is really weird because you see the Volibear and the Aatrox, but it's just the fact that Hanwha Life's comp is so all-in, and normally Kench deals really well with all-in, and so does Seraphine, but it basically means that if T1 makes a single misstep at any point in time, it's not just, oh, Hecarim comes to play. No, it's a Yuumi Orianna of Hecarim. Like, I can't get over how terrifying that is. And we're gonna have fireworks in this game. Like, this should be really, really fun to watch.
And this is so cool as well, because we've been talking about Deft a lot, right? And we've been talking about his Jinx. I think almost his most famous champion is the Ezreal, right? And he's up against Teddy, who's another one of our famous Ezreals. Ruler is the other one, right? As far as the trifecta of our Ezreal players. Bang existed in that one as well, was actually playing Ezreal up against Teddy in the longest game of all time. But this is just so cool. There is so much to talk about with both of these drafts, and it's also a big hint at what we might be seeing in the playoffs as well, even though it's a patch early.
Because this Volibear pick on 11.5 is not nearly as strong, and the reason for that is that on 11.6, if you're not familiar, Volibear got his, I think it was nerfed a while ago because Volibear jungle was kind of too strong, and he was just too strong in the meta as a whole. And the sustain that he got from proccing his W repeatedly, like munching on the monsters, gave him not nearly as much health. That has now been, I think it was partially reverted or just fully reverted, meaning that he will actually heal the full amount. And that creates a situation in which he can basically just clear the entire jungle with full health, and Volibear on level 3 with Pressy Attack is actually disgusting, right? Like, the champion just smashes almost everyone, up there with the likes of an Olaf, in terms of just raw dueling power, and that can create a lot of pressure around the map. This Aatrox is the only part where I'm like, I'm not entirely sure how much I love it, but then I see Senna and Seraphine with Aatrox, I'm like, actually, he will just never die.
Yeah, no, that's the thing,
it's
right?
Not happening.
He's also really good at not dying just by himself in general, and it's only going to get worse. Plus, the dive ability of these bash bros of the Aatrox and the Volibear is Teddy and Keria set up in this brush here, and, you know, Deft and Vis are not going to worry about it too much. We've got things like the Zoomies. Has a lot of sustain in both of these lanes, so expect to see a fair bit of trading, but I don't think the kill pressure is necessarily going to be there in the earlier stages of this lane.
It's a bold take, Atlas.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Yeah, it's a very bold take, because the kill pressure, can't you see it on both sides?
I mean, this is Tahm Kench.
Yes, and Yuumi.
And Yuumi, yeah.
And Ezreal and Senna, neither of which want to do anything but just farm up and get to...
I mean, there's always... They can right-click each other. Like, actually, it is possible that one of these players does go to 0 health.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
But there are heals available, which I think might even tilt the equation further towards nothing actually happening.
Yeah, no, this is the issue.
I'm glad we're sticking with this bot lane as well.
Yeah,
this is where all the action is.
I mean, there is a lot of action. It's just not action that really means too much.
And here you see the early game power that comes out. I think, especially on level 1, the Senna has a big leg up over the Yuumi and the Ezreal, with her being able to just consistently pull out those souls, use Glacial Augment to get favorable trades, and the tankiness of Tahm Kench is also something you can't really get through combined with the sustain. Okay.
Yeah, so the LCK has never been good at Ezreal Yuumi, ever. I actually thought that it was a bad combination until I watched other regions and saw that back in the heyday of Ezreal Yuumi, it was actually ridiculous. We always found that Lucian Yuumi was the best way to utilize the kitty cat on a book. Doesn't mean that it's not strong, and also, you know, Deft is a pretty good Ezreal player and always has been. It's just something that we've never really been able to get over. Even when Lehens was actually, no, Yuumi was just always banned against Lehens. He wasn't allowed to play that one ever, because he was just too good at being the cat. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't have a very great win rate. Doesn't mean that it's terrible, but it is still a pretty old matchup, or at least combo on the bottom side. This Cuz takes a bit of damage here. Johan just making sure that he can take his Rift Scuttler. Cannon moving on over, as it is looking like a 3v3 here, as Chovy off to the side. Not going to get beat dropped this time, but is going to get tagged by that Q as he misses a few creeps as he makes his way back to lane. And misses all of those. Oh my goodness.
Oh boy.
It's the worst farming game for Chovy I've ever seen.
How dare he? You know, how bad. Is this why we say Chovy's washed up? And the reason why we're like making these jokes...
Oh, Choky's here early. Is that what's happening?
Nothing is actually happening. And honestly, I don't expect anything should happen until level 6. I think you saw T1 maybe look for something there, and they do have the early game power to take those skirmishes. but there's not really a need, right? And double scuttle was nice, but do you really want to flip the game that early on something that in the end is not very consequential? Absolutely not. Nope. A big thing here, though, has been that Teddy and Carrier are actually able to continuously have prio towards the top side. Kaz is now pathing from his top towards his bot side. They already have vision. Faker generally has prio, so this should open up, once Kaz is backed, the possibility for an initial Drake will be an Infernal, which as T1 I think you'll take, because interestingly enough, we talk about the sustain on the side of the T1 comp, but then there's also a Uni, right? And there's the shielding available, and there's Hecarim sustain, and there is Morgan that will heal a lot. So there is actually a lot going on the side of Hanwha Life as well, meaning that any additional damage that you can kind of eke out will already help a lot.
Well, having a look, we haven't actually discussed the items. It was a bit of an aggressive move here from Deft. And I say aggressive, I just mean ballsy, as he picks up the tier first, deciding to stack that one up instead of going for any sort of more defensive choice. Kind of cool. Same thing to be said for Faker, though, as you can see. He's got his on the go. There's Morgan going to break the chains, but he's struggling here just a little bit. Umbral Dash going to do it. Is now Canna in trouble, but not enough, as he just dabs on him. That's a solo kill for Canna on the top side. And Morgan, he was doing well in the lane. And then it all just falls apart.
Can go down quickly with Aatrox as we have
Johan is actually spotted out here. No flash, remember. This is a Hecarim as Vista wants to try and get over, but Canna's already teleported down. A late teleport now to come through as Morgan tries to come down as well. But now finds himself 4 members of T1 and they will just back away. So thankfully, you know, Vista has all of his summoner spells and does manage to save the rest of his members, but not a lot of summoner spells left remaining here for Hanwha Life.
Could have maybe been a little bit cleaner there by T1. I think if you wait for Kaz to set up the stun, then Teddy can just hit the root and you guarantee that CC layering. However, Johan might have just sidestepped, or might have just gotten away if he didn't have to sidestep Teddy's root. So in the end, T1 able to put a lot of pressure there. But that kill from Kana is actually really big, because one of the main reasons why Gragas is so strong is because he's basically 100% blind and pickable, because he doesn't actually lose any matchup. He will be able to set up a killer freezer if he wants to. At the very least, he's going to build up a big CS advantage for himself here. And Kaz is nowhere near the top side, might be pathing towards there now, but a little bit of an awkward situation for Kana. Also seems to realize that he's clearing out the Krugs. And in the end, I'd say this play will favor Hanwha Life. Interesting.
Flash in from Carrier, looking for Deft. This one's personal as he devours him. The Ezreal's just dead. Senatom Kench, what a ridiculous combination here on the bottom side, as they're just underneath the turret and Carrier will lick the cat to death.
I'm so impressed with the T1 solo lanes here, Atlas, because I talk about, yeah, it's a nice reaction, right? They go even on the teleports. The wave was really set up really nicely for Morgan, and yes, he has a CS advantage. But when it comes to just the head-to-head, the lane-to-lane, Chovy doesn't have a lead, which for Chovy standards is basically the same as losing. And then we have Teddy and Carrier finding the 2v2 kills, 2 kills even underneath the turret. We have Kana finding a solo kill, and these are the type of things that provide a really big problem for Hanwha Life, because I already said, I think that once T1 gets to the late-game death ball, if Teddy is able to get fed, if he's able to stack up his soul, it's really, really bad. Like, I don't think that it's necessarily you outskill as T1, because again, it's not like the comp of Hanwha Life, a team fights poorly, but I am just such a strong believer in the Seraphine. And if no one on T1 is fed, these kills, if these don't happen, then all of a sudden it becomes much more even. But if you have fed carries with a Seraphine, it's disgusting.
No, it's ridiculous. The insurance is most certainly still there. As Carrier just, he wanted to tank this one up so Teddy could get the kill, but he was like, no, I'll take it.
나이스. 좋아요.
I like it. Teddy's just having a good time.
I mean, you just got the 2v2 kill against a lane that's supposed to just go even with you 100%. And it's not like Deft and Vista either.
No, it's not. These guys normally dominate. I mean, you can see the farm. You have to have a look at Carrier and Deft, of course. It's very even. And honestly, when it comes to, you know, center X lanes, like fasting center lanes, if you're behind 20 CS, you're still pretty much winning, just with how silly that lane is. So Johan here, hiding off to the side. Vista is going to clear out this ward as Deft takes a little bit more damage than he otherwise wants to. They'll allow their horse to make his way in. No vision available here as Carrier will move on back. still hiding in the brush. Teddy will rotate up now is okay. Maybe we could trade one back as Canna has to flash. Flash advantage now available for Morgan as Teddy has to get out of the way of Johan, who pops the Ghost and did go for something, but we didn't really see what was going on as Chovy's just chilling out, 1v2.
Yeah, Ghost used it by Johan in an attempt to kill Teddy. Teddy just immediately realized, I'm dead here, flashes over the wall. I mean, if he didn't flash, he would be 100% dead there with Deft and Vista ready for the follow-up. And that means that is normally, I'd say, you know, Flash and Senna super good, especially with the amount of backline dive you have with Hanwha Live. But there is a certain Sir Thomish that is like, no, that doesn't matter. I don't really care about all that. I can just you up Teddy,
yep,
and you'll be completely fine.
No flashes required. As yeah, Teddy and Kerry are going to be absolutely fine, especially if they can just throw out some piercing darknesses.
And the result of Hanwha Live going for supposed to play around bot side and it not actually working out is you force the flash, but you give up the Rift Herald, right? Like this was taken off screen. We didn't actually get Seekers take that. He immediately went for a play on Chovy afterwards in an attempt to kill Chovy and then go for a subsequent play, get the plates and really get Faker ahead. But instead what we see was that didn't work out. You know, it's kind of unfortunate, but it doesn't really matter as Kana might get ganked here.
Yeah, a bit of a lane gank here from Johan, who's looking to make his way in. He can just ult. There's the flash in from Morgan, and this is a very dead Aatrox. Dawning Shadow comes down, though, and Cuz will turn up. They're turning it on the horse. Morgan is going to be able to grab the Aatrox, but now he's got a big bear after him. Looking to try and lock this one down. Faker coming on in, but they're taking them around the Rosie, as there's the barrel. Cuz now lumbering towards the Gragas, and he will not have that body slam. Faker will pick up the kill. 1-4 now in favor of T1.
And it is just all around an incredibly strong performance here from T1 in terms of sheer laning pressure and response around the map. Yes, Kana dies in the end, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. You keep the Hecarim on even footing as well, because I think a danger in this matchup is that if Kaz doesn't get early game stuff done, then Johan can just farm up and kind of outskill the Volibear, who with this comp is a lot stronger than he otherwise would be, but still you don't pick Volibear for the late game. And instead, they trade favorably and they keep getting the gold on the relevant carries, right? Everyone on T1 has a kill, Nano sure. On Kaz, on carry, it's not nearly as spooky, but getting Faker ahead, getting Kana ahead, getting Teddy ahead are ways where once you start deathballing up, you can actually make even more use of the fact that these carries are fat, as carry is just not going to let him... Oh,
no, the minion wave is there. Unfortunately, the tongue can't get past the minions. But we're going to have a look at this one more time. 1-for-1 is not what Hanwha Live wanted up here.
It's not even a 1-for-1, right? It's a 2-for-1 because Morgan dies.
Oh right, yes, of course, at the end.
Like it's even worse, Atlas. Yeah. That's the worst part of it, and I like the timing here because if Kana has ultimate there, this is just a 2-for-0. Like this just doesn't work out at all. So that idea of capitalizing on that is good, but because it's a lane gank, they're don't actually have any control of River, and the moment that they don't immediately blow him up, you know that this can happen. Teddy also with great map awareness, just immediately throwing it down, buying Kana those couple of extra seconds, allowing Kuz to bear slam in.
And Johan very excited that I'm casting this particular series because of course he got the Hecarim and he got the Cloud Soul that I have gifted over to everyone. So you're welcome.
Had to do it.
I absolutely did. It's just one of those things. We were talking about Chovy not having a lead before. Okay, he has one now. A couple of plates there as well. Of course, Faker has been roaming, so that's largely the reason why. But an Orianna left to their own devices is certainly good news. There's the Rift Herald, plonked down just on the Raptor camp, I guess, because just got upset about it.
I don't like these Raptors.
It looks like and it's not really going to be too much of a big deal. Chovy's going to come over. The plates will go over to Faker, to Kuz. But just a bit more money here for T1, holding on to approximately that 2,000 gold lead, as Deft is going to get Abyssal voyaged on. But he's got the zoomies. He should be okay. But final chapter coming on down here as Teddy just locks up the kill. And Deft had flash, had cleanse, used nothing, and died.
I don't think he was expecting that crit. And I was not expecting that crit, Atlas. That is... Oh my god, Kraken Slayer finished on Teddy there, and that final auto I think was beyond the realm of expectations for both Hanwha Live and possibly T1. And this is not a Hanwha Live you want to see if you're a Hanwha Live fan like just before playoffs, because if the draft isn't great, right? If the macro doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, that can happen, but you can look on that on a day-to-day basis. But when your players are just getting outskilled 1v1, 2v2 across the entire map and outtraded in every single skirmish, that's worrying.
Yeah. No, this is not what you want to see. True Shot Barrage, let's have a look at how it all started, because I didn't even see him Arcane shift.
That's the thing. I'm 100% certain that Teddy already saw him Arcane shift beforehand, because otherwise there's no way that this happens.
Yeah, right.
And then I think they were indeed waiting till the very end, right, to see, maybe I need to flash. But I think he thought he would live of the final order. I can't think of another reason why he would not go for it, of course. If you use the cleanse earlier there and you don't get stuck underneath the turret, you're fine as well. The kind of deterring nature of the Yuumi ultimate, not enough to actually scare T1. And now T1, they get first turret ball. This is just looking like a textbook game across the board. And
yeah, and there's no sort of way out for Hanwha Life Esports either. Normally you look at things like Hecarim and Orianna and even Ezreal like, oh, the scaling should be great, but T1 have just everything, and it all just works so disgustingly well together at the same time. Like, this is very, very rough for Hanwha Life Esports.
Especially because they're fed, right? Like, that's a
yeah, no,
point.
straight up. They're not supposed to be. Like, we'd almost still favor T1 if they were the ones down 3,000 gold.
And I do have to put a little bit of a caveat with that. Of course, the Hanwha Life team comp will always have the inevitable win condition of T1 death balls up and they miss Trophy's ball just one time. Right, like they don't see where the Orianna bow is, they get caught in a shockwave, a Yuumi ultimate on top of it. Like, as a Hanwha Life, and this game is definitely not lost just through the sheer like wombo combo fighting power that you have. But if T1 keep it scattered a little bit, if they're able to position nicely enough, not group up while still using utility, they should be fine.
Yeah, well, in goes the horse and the cat. Let's see what this can do. True Shot Barrage doing a fair bit of work as well, but oh my god, the encore is fantastic. Shockwave eaten by all of the shields as Deft now tries to keep himself alive, but he cannot. Faker locks him down with an auto attack with a whole bunch of notes on it. Chovy getting chased down by a carrier. Oh, ex-teammates, but not friends anymore by the looks of it, as Canna will put him in the grave. And T1, 10-1. It feels like this game's pretty much done.
You can't fight at this point in time. I'm talking about your wombo combo. You need items for that. Orianna does hit a 3-man shockwave, but it doesn't matter at all. And here you see Cod's going in aggressively here, looks bad in any other team comp, but just because of the fact that look at his health bar, it just doesn't go down.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Faker, it's a beautiful encore. Chovy and Deft are not able to actually contribute to this fight because they haven't hit their spikes yet. Deft at the very least wants to finish his Moramana, which I don't think he has here yet.
No, he doesn't.
And preferably also get Surreal's Grudge. And I guess you also can't take Putrefier on the Yuumi because otherwise this is just going to keep happening and happening. But the problem with taking this fight right now as Hanwha Life is that now you've basically pushed the point where you can actually win these fights forward by 10 minutes. Or backwards, rather, which bad for you, I think.
And those 10 minutes might actually just be the next game, right? Like, we may not even just get there at this stage, because it's 6,000 gold the lead for T1.
Oh, he just choked him out. The Campac.
Yeah, he actually built the Staff of Flowing Water, but sold it when he was in base and decided to go for the Putrefier instead, just because of the disgustingness that is the Yuumi and the amount of healing that she provides.
And now it's not even close, right?
God, Deft just takes so much damage here from Teddy, and Carrier is super tanky right now as well. As there's the final chapter used mainly in Fear. Teddy just needs a couple more autos. Yep, the Piercing Darkness will do it. My god, he 3-shots Deft. And that's not including a Kraken Slayer proc. Like, oh my god, this center is just revolting.
Yeah, this is disgusting from T1. Oh my god.
Just a little kitty cat with a dream. Oh, and Vista's just going to be obliterated. What? T1 running an 11.6 comp in 11.5. I'm wondering why they weren't just doing that the entire time. Because, yeah, Shirley might actually be dancing on the Nexus.
Atlas, might I remind you that Hanwha Life is up in the standings. They're 12-5.
Yeah.
T1 is 10-7.
Yeah, so is Gen G, by the way. Did you see what T1 did to them?
This is not supposed to happen, and I made this call before, and I actually think that it might come to fruition where, as the T1 staff, you're just going to laugh so hard when you're experimenting in spring actually still works out because you were actually playing 4D chess because you just had this roster the whole time and you didn't use them, and who cares? You're in playoffs. You're looking absolutely stellar. I mean, you can't do that with Yuumi. You're very good at helping other people face check and go for ward clearing, but you can't do that because this is just fundamental misexecution on side of multiple, basically every single lane besides Chovy from Hanwha Life. Chovy's just kind of along for the ride, doesn't actually get to have any impact on his game because you see even if he does it to Shockwave, the damage isn't there, the healing is too much. And I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where his damage will be enough because I'm talking like 4 items at the very least. And Atlas, I like the idea behind the S4 Yuumi, but the execution, just not there. Morgan getting solo killed, not allowed. And now T1 has an absurd gold lead. Sure, the Cloud Soul is not great for them, but who cares? They're going to win every single team fight with this Deathblow comp.
Yeah, no, I think that this is basically done and dusted. We are very close to a Cloud Soul as well as Teddy's over here. There's the final chapter. Devour is going to be available, so Carrier just negates all of that. Johan's getting chunked by Teddy as, Chovy doesn't even utilize the Shockwave, decides instead he just wants to flash out of this one. If he could flash out of the game, he probably would, because, this is just looking almost impossible for Hanwha Life. Morgan now chasing after Canna, will be able to smash him back towards his team, but maybe that's not where his team wants him, as Def gonna get chunked, does make it over the wall, decent Shockwave to buy a bit of space, but in comes Teddy once again. He's got more damage than a nuke right now as Faker throws out the ult. He doesn't really find too much. He may have found the Yuumi, but the Yuumi died in the blink of an eye. But Ezreal doing exactly the same thing. 6-0-7 for this Senna, looking to make it 7-0-7. But the tower is not something that Teddy wants to be under. And now T1 are just going to waltz down mid.
This is not okay. I was really excited about this match. I thought it was going to be a banger. I thought it was going to be close. And you know, Wolf, he's always a little bit of the negative side. I was like, nah, come on, Chronicle. Like, this is not going to be good. I was like, no, I believe in these two teams. I think it's going to be
I mean, I think the
awesome.
reasoning why it's not going to be good is because this means nothing, right? So you can't, it's actually really difficult to draw conclusions. However, you're right that watching these two teams play does give you an idea of how they're going to perform theoretically based on their form, but I don't know, man. It's all a little bit horses for courses at this stage, but T1 are looking like 100% the better team in this particular game.
No, but I was just expecting at the very least like a cool competitive League of Legends game, and instead what they're getting is, I don't think they've hit the time yet, but I'll use your nomenclature for this, an absolute shellacking.
Yeah.
That is not the kind of shellacking that you get when you play with a Nidalee Renekton comp, because this scaling don't stop, baby. Like, this is just gonna this is just gonna keep happening because these health bars are not gonna go down. And this is where as Hanwha Life we're like gonna be, well, I guess we've learned that Seraphine is more important than Hecarim.
100%. Well, Morgan, he does have a look in here at the side as Johan wants to desperately try and get towards this Baron. He will get on in, but he's dead way before any spite's even relevant. And T1 didn't want the Baron. They wanted the team fight. They wanted to win the game. Def is just going to get popped. It's Canna that dives on over and smashes him into the death chamber. The Baron is taken in the end as, the Yuumi pops out. Chovy now will find another two-man Shockwave. He's consistently hitting quite a few people with that, but it doesn't actually matter because it doesn't do enough damage. And now, 3 members of Hanwha Life Esports against the world of T1. And they are so scary. Yeah, Chovy's just going on a little bit of an adventure here. Wants to see what it's like on the T1 side of the Rift. And in the meantime, Carrier's just going to stop any potential backs. And I think this game's just done. Faker, surprise, out of the brush. Very, very dead. Chovy, Vista, of course, is going to be going down as well, as they're just going to follow him around as Carrier he's going to do the... This one's done.
Make it stop.
Oh no, they're just hanging out. This is adorable. Quick, get the jukes. Oh wow, he really has been juking for a really long time. It's 20-1 is going to be the advantage here for T1. The rest of Hanwha Life are going to respawn. They're not going to give this one away for free necessarily. The Baroned up minions will make it very difficult, as now we're going to get trolled by an inhibitor. As in goes Johan. Does knock back the Senna. Teddy will just get cast to the face. And now Morgan's trying to chase down Cuz. Canna in a little bit of trouble here, but Deft isn't going to find the Mystic Shots. And okay. Well, no, it's not over just yet.
Aha!
They have not cancelled this one just yet. Haven't hopped out. As Morgan's even teleporting in. All right, Faker from over the wall. We'll say goodbye to the Gragas. And we'll lock down that kill. Deft inside the Raptor pit. Relatively safe right now, but as the final chapter, Shockwave lands onto 2 once again, doesn't do any damage once again. It's now Cuz looking for Chovy. Vista's going to die, and now Canna walks so extraordinarily fast. And Faker will just douse him in all of that. Magic damage. That will be the ace, finally. And T1 will say goodnight to game 1.
I need a moment, man.
We gave you a moment. T1 should have finished a really long time ago, but instead they gave you that moment.
Unbelievable. This is, yeah, that's one of the most one-sided games I think we've seen all split, and that includes a couple of Dumb Kia games.
I mean, I can see your vote, by the way, but did you see the 909? Do you want to renege on your choice?
No.
No? Okay, we're good.
I think that I might not get the redemption here. But I'm okay with that. I stand by my choice. I think that in terms...
I mean, the game didn't last long enough, so...
That's, well,
I mean, that's like a 4th or 5th item.
It's... Yeah. Man. What do you say about a game like this? You all saw what happened. T1 outclassed in every single lane.
And it's also a little bit of, you know, you have to talk about the draft and what happened, what was flipped as well. The really interesting thing is that, you know, Thresh went through the entire first round, but T1 answered, leaving that Thresh up so beautifully by leaving up the entire trifecta of ridiculously OP champions. And there's not even a trifecta at the moment, especially with Senna and especially with the 2 AD carries that we have in this particular game. Both Deft and Teddy are very, very good at that champion. I think Teddy is probably one of the best in the world. Like, he's just ludicrous on that particular pick. We saw that demonstrated. But you can't leave up all of these OP picks for your opponent to get their pick of the litter on the red side.
But here's the problem. It's like a Dublin situation where, like, should you really be wasting these bans on these champions? And then you ban those champions and then they pick something else and they still stomp you. And that's the type of game where, like, yes, I think that he wanted a really good draft, but I don't think that the Hanwha Live team comp was unplayable. Like, I think that if you go in there on even footing into the mid game, those Chovy ultimates actually do something. You saw the combo, right?
Yeah.
Like, the combination of, like, engaging with the cask, throwing in the Shockwave, throwing over an Arcane Barrage, locking it down with Yuumi, that can still work, but not if you lose in every single lane. It was misexecution on the ganks that were countered really nicely by T1. It was Deft getting solo or duo killed multiple times.
Yeah, with all of his summoners up, like, this is, we've seen these sorts of plays from Deft before, and they're like, yeah, just wasn't really what you want to see out of our 3rd place team.
It was
here in the LCK. Here's the post-it game breakdown. Let's have a look at that huge center number. Yeah, that's a big one. 23K, and the game only lasted 25 minutes.
I feel better about my choice now. I feel vindicated.
Yeah.
As unironically, you are not allowed to do it with Senna Tom Kench. Like, yes, Ezreal Yuumi is not a strong lane, sure, but you're not allowed to win this hard. Like, I don't think that, even though the Senna arguably scales in a very different way from the Ezreal, right? Ezreal, like, if he stays untouched, he's really, really strong, whereas Senna always provides utility, and then with the recent builds that have been cropping up, also provides an incredibly reliable long-range, consistent damage. But it doesn't matter what champion Teddy would have played. Like, if he gets that fat, if he stomps the laning phase that hard to get with